In the summer of 2018, I traveled with two friends through Germany's Black Forest region. We were into urbex and photography, and someone from Reddit tipped us off about a decaying manor house deep in the woods, allegedly abandoned since the 1940s. We found it, barely. The road was overgrown, and the gate was rusted shut. We climbed over and walked through the overgrown path to the front. The mansion was tall, covered in ivy, with shattered windows and stone gargoyles staring down at us. We stepped inside, and the first thing we noticed was the silence. No birds. No wind. Nothing. The place looked like it had been untouched since World War II. Furniture was still in place. There were oil portraits on the walls. Dishes in the dining room. The first air felt normal. Dusty, spooky, but normal. We split up to cover more ground. They went upstairs to explore the study and took photos. They found a locked drawer filled with old letters, some of them in German, talking about something inside the walls. But when tried to return downstairs, the hallway was different. There was no staircase. The window I had seen earlier was gone. The wallpaper had changed. At first, I thought I'd taken a wrong turn. But after circling for 10 minutes, I knew something was wrong. I called my friends. No answer. Kept walking, until I found myself back at the same room where I started. Exactly the same. Except this time, the oil painting was different. Before, it was a portrait of a woman. Now it was a portrait of me, blurry, but clearly me, holding a camera, with my mouth opened wide in a silent scream. I ran. Then corridors got twisted in impossible directions. Doors that opened into walls. Every time turned around, the layout shifted. Eventually, I stumbled into the main hall, and saw one of my friends, pale and shaking. He had been trapped on the first floor, experiencing the same thing. We both screamed for our third friend, Tom. He never came out. We called for hours, searched every corner, even came back the next day with police. But they said the building had already been sealed for decades. No one should have been inside. And there were no signs of anyone ever being there, except the photo I had taken. The final photo on my camera showed a dark hallway, and someone standing at the end. But none of us were there when it was taken. My uncle used to be an urban planner in Bremen, and he told me about an old private mansion on the edge of the city, a strange 5-story villa that had an elevator shaft but no electricity. It had been built by a reclusive industrialist in the early 1900s and was abandoned after a fire in the 1970s. When I visited him in 2020, I convinced him to show me the place. We slipped in through a side entrance. The inside was heavy, burnt wood, mold, and something metallic. The wallpaper had peeled away, revealing charred beams and antique wall designs. In the main hall, we found the elevator. It was old-fashioned. Brass gate, iron frame. But the button panel was still intact, glowing faintly orange, somehow. My uncle didn't want to touch it. But I pressed 3, just out of curiosity. The gate creaked closed by itself. And the elevator moved. We heard it rise, level by level, until it reached the 3rd floor. It opened to a hallway that shouldn't exist. The floor was pristine. The wallpaper unburned. Lights worked. And faint music, 1930s ballroom music, echoed down the hall. Stepped out. The moment I did, the elevator door slammed shut behind me. Tried to open it. Lock. No response. I walked down the hall. The sound grew louder. There was a dining room at the end, lit by chandeliers. And sitting at the table were dozens of mannequins, dressed in black formal way. They weren't moving. But they were all facing the same direction, toward an empty chair at the head of the table. And that chair had my name engraved on it. Then the lights blinked. And the mannequins slowly turned toward me. I ran back to the elevator and screamed. I don't know how long banged on that gate, but eventually, my uncle opened it. He said I'd been gone less than 5 minutes. But my phone said I'd recorded audio in that hallway for 2 hours and 30 minutes. No voices. No music. Just faint scratching. Like fingernails against a wooden table. While studying in Munich, I joined a group of history students doing fieldwork in a small Bavarian village. We stayed near an old estate that once belonged to a famous clockmaker in the 1800s. Locals called it Das Zeithaus, the time house. They warned us not to enter. Not because of ghosts, but because people who stayed too long inside got sick, disoriented, lost track of days. Some even vanished. We thought it was superstition. But on the third day of our stay, we got bored and went in. The house was still filled with clocks, hundreds of them. Wall clocks, grandfather clocks, pocket watches on hooks. But none of them worked. No ticking. No movement. Just stillness. We explored room after room. Each space was more warped than the last. Furniture tilted at odd angles. Some doors opened into closets with no back wall, just blackness. And again, the clocks began ticking. All at once. Every single clock in the manor started ticking together, perfectly synchronized. That's when we started hearing footsteps upstairs, so we were sure no one else was gone. We tried to leave, but the front door was gone. The entryway now led into another hallway, filled with even more clocks. One of our friends, Lee, started panicking. She said she felt stuck inside her own body. Like her thoughts were echoing. We tried to break a window, but Ed said, everything was frozen. A bird mid-flight. A tree branch suspended in midair. Like time had stopped. It finally kicked through a side door, and the moment we hit the outside air, every clock went silent. We didn't speak for hours. The next morning, we realized something worse. Our watches and phones had all stopped at exactly the same time. 2:47 a.m. And even now, still dream of that house. Always waking up at 2:47.